Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are all well and getting through this difficult time. I wanted to, while we're in lockdown now, I thought I was sort of just add a bit more value. We've been doing quite a few of these Lightroom videos, and this is another way that I would just like to share some information with you guys and maybe help you with your photographic journey. Now, in this particular episode, I'm going to chat about shooting panoramas when you're out in the field. Now, if all of you have mobile phones, you'll know that a lot of these mobile phones have got the panorama function, and that's really cool. But you can also do that now with using digital cameras and combining those panoramas in Lightroom, which is actually super, super easy. Now, I want to go through the why, when, and how with shooting panoramas when you're out in the field. So a lot of time people only see this from a landscape photography point of view, but this is actually golden when it comes to photographing wildlife and especially creating those images with sort of animals in an environment. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few options or a few examples that I've labeled here. But first of all, to start off with why you shoot panoramas, especially when it comes to wildlife. Now, a lot of the times you might be faced with a particular scene, and you might be limited with the lens that you have available. Right? You can't carry every single lens that's available, obviously. So often, like for me personally, I like shooting with prime lenses quite a bit. So fixed 300s, fixed 400s, and even recently in the Serengeti, I was using a fixed 600mm. So as much as that limits you from that you can't zoom in or out, using panoramas is a great way to showcase the animal in the environment. Let's just go in. I'm going to give you a few options here, and I'm going to go through shooting landscape and also shooting portrait style. So over here, these are images in the Ngorongoro crater. Now you can see there's about 10 images here in total, which I've shot in landscape. So just to give you a bit of an idea, that's what the images sort of look like. And as you can see, this is all taken landscape style, right? So if you pick up your camera the normal way, shooting in landscape, and what you then sort of end up with is something that's quite wide, right? So for landscape, that might be really, really cool, but when it comes to wildlife, you kind of want to show more of the environment, more foreground, and especially more sky. Okay, so I prefer to shoot, when I'm shooting wildlife, to shoot it in portrait orientation, just like I mentioned, just so you can include more of that foreground and also skies, which is often crucial to something like that. So let's get into it. I'm gonna show you guys a particular scene that we were faced with in Ndutu actually recently. Now, this is the normal shot, and I had 100 or 400 millimeter with me, and then I had a fixed 600 with me. So that was the image that I got with the 100 or 400. This was zoomed out all the way at 100, and although it's very, very nice, this particular scene was absolutely golden. But what happened later on in this particular sighting is we had a herd of elephants that came underneath the lioness, and I really wanted to showcase the entire sort of tree and everything that's in there, as well as all the elephants at the bottom. Okay, so just to show you again, so this is then shooting in portrait style. Again, you can see there's a bit of a connection between the lioness and the elephant, but it doesn't really showcase the entire scene. So what I did, here's another example here of her standing up, and you can see it's sort of at the bottom here, these elephants are being chopped off. So I wanted to really create that entire scene, showing the lioness standing up and also showcasing the entire tree. Now, to sort of tell you when I would do this is when you're faced with this particular scene, I think it's vitally important that your animal stands out, right? So I'm going to show you guys just a few images that where the lioness was lying flat. So I combined these. What's it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 7, 8 images combined together and got something like that. Now you can still see the lioness in the frame there, but ideally with a situation like this, you want your animal to stand up, to really sort of, so you can see the animal, obviously, because you're shooting a little bit wider and combining all these images. And that's why panoramas are so much better than, you know, shooting with a really wide angle lens like a 16-35 or 17-40. And sometimes if you go too wide with that, your subject gets lost and it almost becomes too small in the frame. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys quickly what I would usually do before you shoot. Sorry, it's the dog. What I would usually do when I'm photographing a scene like that is, when I'm doing a panorama, is before I do the panorama, take a photo of my hand or the ground, and then after you've shot the panorama, to do that same thing again. In this particular case, everything happened so quickly, so I didn't really have time to do that. But it just helps you sort out those images a lot quicker, so that you it's easy to find in your catalog. But let's go through it. So this is what the images look like. All right, so that's the first one. So what I try and do, you know, when you're shooting those panoramas, you can obviously see this was in portrait orientation, so I can get some of that ground. I can get almost the top of the trees in here, but to include about 30% of your previous frame in there, just so it overlaps quite nicely. Okay, so those are the images. So if you've got those images, then it's very easy. Click on the first one, and then hold shift in and click on the last one. All right, and then if you right click in Lightroom, you go to photo merge, and it gives you the option then of going to panorama. Now you've got quite a few sort of projections over here. So you've got spherical, and that it just builds a sort of a different a preview type that it gives you. Okay, you can see though that, you know, all these edges and things, it looks very crooked. In this particular case, I'm going to go with a cylindrical view, and you know, this is a bit of an issue. So obviously you don't want to just import it like that. You know, you want to get rid of all of this and just even it out nicely. Now Lightroom's got some few very clever options. You can go auto crop, which will bring it together for you, but personally I prefer to use the boundary wrap to just try and include as much of that information as I possibly can. So have a look what happens now. If I pull this boundary wrap, you can see it will start fixing all of those white edges. Okay, so keep going. So just till about there. Okay, so you can see all those edges are done, and then very easy, you click onto photo merge, and it will start merging those images together for you. Now, like I showed you, that is the end result then that I got from that particular panorama, which much better. You know, if you can see there's you can see more of the tree, your lioness, you can still make out what it is. And like I mentioned, it's much better than going out super wide with like a 16 or 16-35 or a 17-40 mm lens. If you had to shoot really wide, then this animal will get lost in the process. Okay. I'm going to show you guys another example. So yeah, this was the scene that like I mentioned, it was absolutely amazing. Now you can see this lioness got up, and I was saying to my guests, once we saw this lioness get up, shoot panoramas, and you have to be super quick. I'm going to tell you how to go about this scene, but just to give you another few examples. So this is the panorama. So starting off from the left, again shooting in portrait style, so I can get this foreground here, and also want to include the sky. Okay, there you can see the lioness beautifully, and this was done at 100 mils. Okay, and that's the final product. But again, let me show you. So you click on the first one, click on the last one, so hold shift in, click on the last one, right click, photo merge, and then panorama. Okay, so cool thing, it'll create a preview for you. A lot of these file sizes are quite big. This was shot with a 5D Mark IV, so massive files. And the really cool thing about this is, think now if you want to print something really big, right? instead of having one image, now you've got like 5 or 6 or 8, 10 images that you combine together. So the file sizes are massive. It does, your computer might take a bit of strain in the beginning, but imagine now printing something like this. It'll be phenomenal. Okay, so again, you can have a look at some of the few different projections that it gives you. You can see spherical just sort of crunches it down a little bit. Cylindrical, a little bit wider. Let's see perspective. Yeah, perspective doesn't really quite work with this. I'm going to go with cylindrical again. And again, I want to get rid of these sort of white edges here and just sort of bring it all together. So with this boundary wrap, very, very cool. Let's just pull that together. Something like that. And then you hit photo merge. Okay, it will create a preview for you at the top here, and then this is the end result. So I have edited this a little bit, but now you can see that that's golden. If you compare that to the single image I would have gotten, which was this here, you know, it's you can't even compare. Okay, so how do I go about, you know, shooting these panoramas? So like I've said before, very important that you shoot in portrait orientation, and then I would use back button focus, right? So your AF button to focus on the animal. So in this particular case, get your focal point, focus on your lioness, hit your back button, and then move to the left of the frame, taking your finger off the back button. Remember, then your lioness will still be in focus, and then start off at the left. All right, click one image, include about 30% of your previous frame. Click again. You don't have to press the back button again. Your lioness will be in focus. Click a second one again and keep on doing that, including about 30% of the previous frame. And that's it. Super, super easy. Yeah, like I mentioned, often I would use this, especially, you know, think about shooting big prime lenses, 500 or 600 mils. Often you don't get, even if it's a lion or a leopard in a tree, you don't get the whole animal in. So very easy. Focus on the head of the leopard, move back so you get the tail and everything in. Click, 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 3, 4, 5 images, however many you want, and then just merge it together. Super, super easy. It's important, like something like this, you know, if you have an action scene, you obviously got to be very quick. So, and that comes with practice. As you saw, Lightroom does a very good job in combining it all together, so you don't have to get it exactly right. But yeah, just be very quick. Focus on your line, move back, click, 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 5, 6 images, and yeah, you end up with something like that. It's something that I would encourage you guys to try a lot more. It's from a wildlife point of view, as I mentioned, absolutely golden. And then you've got, like I said before, you've got these massive files that you can then print as big as you want. You know, with a lot of these, you imagine with the 5D Mark IV or the D850s, these cameras that have huge files as it is, you know, then combining like 5 or 6 or 10 images together, you're sitting with a huge file. Guys, that's Panoramas in a nutshell. Hope that helps. If you guys have any questions on this, please let me know. If there's something else in Lightroom that you guys would like us to discuss, please give us a shout. We're happy to help you. Now is the perfect time to learn all of these things and learn a few new tricks of the trade. Okay, guys, stay safe out there, stay indoors, and I look forward to catching up with you guys soon. Till next time, cheers.